and welcome to the Level Up Your Inner Power podcast family. More than a community, we like to think of it as your energetic home. I'm Juliet Martine.
And I'm Danielle Flood. And today we're exploring how to shift your energy when you're feeling really stuck and blocked and powerless to create positive changes in your life, and what you can do to level up your energy when it comes to activating your inner power of choice.
We talk about superfoods, eating super greens and super proteins, all those foods that are packed with really high nutrients that give us that power punch to propel us forward in our physical health and our sustenance. And I think when it comes to feeling that sense of powerlessness, feeling powerless within ourselves and our life, one of the greatest superpowers we have is the power of our free will to make different choices for ourselves. I don't know how you feel about that, Danielle, but
yeah,
I feel that, when we can't control what's going on around us, we always have the power within us to choose.
Absolutely. And we lose sight of it, don't we?
We do. And I really feel that our inner power of choice is actually a superpower that we can all use. And we're using it, in fact, all the time, the power of choice. We're using it consciously and also unconsciously each and every minute of the day as we're making choices minute by minute, from the second we open our eyes in the morning to the second we close them at night.
Yep.
And the thing is, when we're feeling stuck or blocked or powerless to change the things we don't like in our life, it's usually because we've lost sight of our ability to choose how we react and choose to respond in each and every moment.
I think about my life, and I spent so many years thinking I didn't have a choice. I had this belief that what was happening in my life was because that's what I was destined for. Like I felt like I didn't have any choice. All the good things and all the shitty stuff, like all the issues that came up with friends at school, my education, my career, in my relationships, like all the stuff that happened throughout my life, I truly believed that these things were just the way it was meant to be, that I just needed to accept things as they were because there was no other option. And, Juliet, if I think back to some of the ways I'd been treated by certain friends and even family members, and how they treated me and what I actually accepted, I made so many excuses for their behavior. Like, I shouldn't say anything. They've got issues that they're dealing with, or I had to keep the peace for the family because, it's family. Everyone else's well-being was more important than mine, and I just had to accept it, right?
Right, yeah.
But then I reached a point in my life where I was actually making a choice to accept that behavior in my life. And then the other side of that was making a choice not to accept that behavior anymore, which also had implications. So either way you looked at it, that it just wasn't an easy option either way. But then when I started to make the choice that aligned with who I wanted to become and what I wanted in my life, oh man, things just started to shift the moment I started taking action and making the choices that were right for me.
I can really feel that. I've had many moments in my life when I've felt really powerless, that I didn't have a choice. As a child, I felt very powerless to stop the bullying I experienced in the playground at school for many, many years. As an adult, I felt really powerless to change some health issues that I struggled with. And at times, I've felt powerless to change things that are going on in my work situation, particularly when I worked in corporate life many, many years ago. And, we can feel powerless within our family dynamics, as you mentioned, and within our financial circumstances. If I really reflect back on my life, when I felt most powerless was actually within my marriage, because I was incredibly unhappy and I felt totally powerless to be able to solve the situation.
Yeah.
And I remember this one really poignant moment. I had a friend over and we'd had afternoon tea together, and as she was leaving, she knew I was very unhappy, and I was standing at my front door waving goodbye to her, and I kind of made a joke, when I'm 60, I'll get divorced, because I really wanted to leave the marriage. And then it was like this calculator flicked on in my head, and I did the maths, and because my logic was, by the time I'm 60, my children will be adults, and they'll be living out of home, and it won't damage my children. And the calculator flicked on, and I realized, oh, hang on a minute, my children will be adults by the time I'm 50. So suddenly my divorce fantasy came back 10 years earlier. And I'm like, great, when I'm 50, I can leave my marriage. And at the time, I would have been 38, turning 39. And I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, I'm wishing the next 10 years of my life away, waiting to be free from a situation that I was really unhappy in. And I asked myself this question, standing there in the doorway. All of this happened in a matter of seconds, but I remember it distinctly. I asked myself the question, what would it take for me to have the courage to make this choice for myself now? And the answer that came back straight away was cancer.
Oh, okay. That's not what I thought you were going to say.
If I got cancer, that would be a strong enough reason for me to say I'm unhappy, I need to leave this marriage. If I got sick, because, I'm a health practitioner, I value health as my number one priority. So if my health started to suffer physically, then that would be proof enough for me to say, I can't be here any longer.
Right.
And then the next thought that popped into my head was, what the F am I doing? I'm wishing cancer on myself now. Like, what is it going to take for me to give myself permission to do what is right for me? And I realized that, I still had fears around leaving, fears around not putting, the happiness of my partner first, or my then husband, not caring for my children first, that they need to be happy, and they couldn't, come from a broken home, and failing, all of my vows and everything. And so what I did was I made the decision to clear all my fears, and I spent the next couple of months doing the inner work, choosing to do the inner work to clear all of my inner fears until I was free of those fears. And then I got to make a choice that was not being chosen for me by my fear or by putting anyone else first. And that released me from my sense of powerlessness, because then I got to choose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I got to choose to step into my abundance and my light, which I knew would be for the greater good of everyone, even though some people might not be happy with that choice. It was certainly for the greater good of my children, not just myself. And so I stepped out of that darkness that comes when we're allowing our fears to choose for us. And, there's so many reasons we can feel powerless, but often it's because, without consciously realizing it, it's because we've given our power of choice over to other people or things.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can be those big things where we've got that fear and that it's almost paralysis of that choice, but then it also shows up in so many other different ways. And if you think about your work situation right now, you might be feeling stuck because you're constantly waiting for your boss to notice your efforts or to give you permission to step up. And without realizing it, you've handed your power of choice over for someone else's approval. Or if you think about your relationships, and it could be that you keep on saying yes to things when actually you want to say no. But you keep saying yes because you don't want to rock the boat, or you don't want to be seen as causing trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's those times we give our power of choice away to things like, I can't be happy until I make more money, or I can't feel confident until I lose a few more kilos. And then suddenly your ability to feel good about your life, to feel good about yourself, is completely dependent on some future condition that we're waiting to happen. But underneath all of that is every time you dismiss what you truly want or need, you're giving your power away. And that's why you feel powerless, because your sense of control is sitting in someone else's hand or in a situation you can't fully control. And I think you all know by now I'm all about feelings. And And I just want to talk about what powerlessness actually feels like. Because when you're in it, it can feel like there's no way out.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're stuck in a box and no matter which way you turn, there's just no way out for you. And how that might feel in your body is it feels really heavy, you're tired, there's fatigue, and then it also gives you this isolating feeling and like your options have just been taken away. And sometimes it even feels like your whole world is on hold. You're just waiting for someone else to decide, waiting for things to change, waiting for permission to move forward. And the truth is, that's one of the hardest places to be in because you convince yourself you don't have a choice, that you just have to accept things the way that they are, even if you're miserable or drained or unfulfilled. Oh man, that was my story for so many years. And it's hard. It was a hard place to be in, really hard.
I grew up in a household where there was absolutely zero conflict.
No,
I laugh because that can sound really pleasant to people who've grown up in very traumatizing households. But I didn't learn any healthy conflict resolution skills. I didn't even learn any healthy debating or discussion skills. It was kind of like, be a good girl, do what you're told. And I've learnt how to avoid conflict because if there was any tension in the household, my mum would kind of go into withdrawal and coolness that felt like, I wasn't getting the love and acceptance that I needed. So I started to give my personal power over to the fear that I had of conflict and tension and other people being unhappy with me and there being unresolved energy in the house. Particularly given that I'm so energetically sensitive, which is a great asset as an energy healer, but as a child reading the energy of what's going on between people and dynamics, that creates a lot of tension.
Yeah, I can believe that.
I also gave away my power when I was married. As an adult, I gave my power away to my husband because I didn't see myself as being equal. I didn't see my needs as being equal to my husband's needs. I didn't see my value and my worth as being equal to him. So I put his needs ahead of my own and I put my children's needs ahead of my own. I put my happiness on hold because I didn't see myself as being equally worthy of being happy. And so my powerlessness came from the fact that I was giving away my inner power to the importance of other people. And in the process, I was not only seeing myself as being powerless to change things, but I was actually shutting down my own inner power of choice. I was shutting down being willing and able to make different choices for myself because I perceived myself as being less than and unable to change anything.
Yeah. And maybe as you're listening, it's bringing up different experiences for you of times where you've felt powerless in your life, when you've felt like you're trapped or blocked by your own fears, or different areas of your life where you feel like you might have given away your power because you've felt unable to change things. Or maybe you're listening to this right now and there's an aspect of yourself or of your life that you really feel powerless to change. But here's where the shift happens. You always have a choice. Always. The question is, are you making choices that are truly yours, or are you making choices based on what other people expect of you?
Ouch.
Yeah, because I tell you, and we all know it, but we just don't acknowledge it. There's always going to be people who don't like your choices.
Yeah.
Family who think you should be doing things their way or the way that they grew up. Oof, that's a big one for me. Or friends who want you to stay the same so that they feel comfortable. Or perhaps it's work colleagues who can't see your bigger vision because of their own visions.
Yeah.
And if you live your life trying to please everybody else, you'll always stay in that powerless loop. But the moment you choose for yourself, from your own clarity, from your own truth, from your own soul, everything shifts. That's what standing in your power actually looks like. making a choice and committing to it fully, not half in, not half out, not making excuses or apologizing for it, but standing there with absolute clarity, 100% connected to yourself and saying to yourself, this is my choice, this is my path, and I trust myself to walk it. You know, Juliet, even saying that out aloud, oh my gosh, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Like I can feel that in every ounce of my being. And that feeling is that energy, is that power that's moving within you. That's when you light up your individual power from the inside out, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you stopped giving your power away to everyone else and you claimed it back for yourself.
That's so potent, realizing that it's not, you know, when we're waiting for life to get easier, we're giving our power away just in the waiting.
And your life is just going by while you're sitting there waiting. It's on hold. You're stuck. You're not moving anywhere. You're not moving forward. You're not moving back. You're stuck because you're in this waiting pattern for what?
So giving our power over to the waiting for things to improve is another way that we make ourselves powerless. And here's the thing to remember, when we block or lose sight of our inner power of choice, that's when we start to feel disempowered and powerless rather than powerful. And change happens when we stand in our power, not when we give our power away, or at least positive change.
Yeah, absolutely.
which is kind of what we're aiming for here with the Level Up Your Inner Power podcast.
We want it to be positive. Absolutely, we do. Yes. Yes.
So I thought I might share, you know, what I do when I find myself stuck in that energy of powerlessness, when I feel that and I feel like I can't move forward no matter how hard or how much I might want things to change.
Love that.
There are some really powerful questions I stop and ask myself to help shift my energy and call back any of the power that I've either lost sight of within myself or that I've given away to other people or things. So maybe you'd find these questions helpful as well. So the first question I ask myself to help actually raise my own awareness, my self-awareness and my consciousness, is I ask myself, in what sense am I feeling powerless? Like maybe I'm feeling powerless in the sense that I don't know how to change the situation with a family member who's struggling with health issues at the moment. I currently have that in my family. Or maybe I'm feeling powerless to improve my relationship with my partner. I've certainly experienced that over the years. Or maybe I feel powerless to lose weight or gain weight or find a soulmate or improve my financial situation or I was speaking with a client this week who wants to move to a different city or someone who wants to find a job, you know, a new job that not only pays the bills but is something that they really love doing and want to wake up feeling energized about every morning. Or for a lot of people at the moment, we are feeling quite powerless to change what's going on in the world.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And it can be, you know, really cause our energy to drop. So just being aware when we're feeling powerless and what it is that we're feeling that powerlessness around or with is a very powerful place to start. And then the second question I ask myself is, and this is a real eye-opener, kind of opens the lens on the camera.
Give it to me.
Okay, it's the question of, who or what am I giving my power away to? Who or what currently holds power over me? Who or what is ruling me? And there can be several answers to this question when I ask it. Sometimes it's a person, you know, maybe it's my parents, my partner, my 2-year-old that's throwing tantrums on the floor in the supermarket. Maybe it's an elderly or demanding pet, you know, a pet that's really anxious sitting at your feet the whole time can be holding power over us and kind of ruling our life. Maybe it's someone in my social network or a neighbor or maybe it's someone at work that I'm finding really difficult to work with and it's causing me to hate my job. So it could be a person. It could also be a thing in my life that's holding power over me. So, it might be my health if I'm having health problems, or my finances, or my job, or as we mentioned, it could be, what's going on geopolitically in the world right now.
Yeah.
And then it could also be what's going on for me internally that's actually ruling me at the moment and holding power over me. Maybe it's that negative talk we spoke about a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The negative talk that's going on inside my head is starting to really, rule my day. Or maybe it's my need to be liked, to have other people's approval that's kind of controlling me and ruling me. Or my need to control things, to have certainty in life, to think I know what's right. Or maybe it's my fear of getting things wrong. It could be my feelings of not being good enough that's actually got power over me at the moment, or my fear of what other people might think of me. Or it could be sometimes I certainly know this when I was raising young children, the thing that had power over me was that feeling I had inside that I never had enough time to get everything done.
Yeah.
You've mentioned this before, Danielle. Sometimes it can be our uncomfortable feelings like anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
That really start to rule us,
And sometimes it can override us. And so by being aware of it and naming it is actually disarming its power. That's how I sort of made the choice to sort of start dealing with it as well. So this process is very powerful.
Yeah. And particularly if we've experienced a lot of anxiety in the past or panic attacks, things like that, it creates this secondary layer of fear because we know the feelings are so uncomfortable that we become fearful of the anxiety itself in case it starts to, take us in this downward spiral that then we feel like we can't control our own body and the way we're operating. So whatever it is that is taking my power, I've given my power over to, or is ruling me, I know that whoever or whatever that is ruling me, it always holds power over me.
Yeah.
So once I've identified where I'm feeling powerless and who or what I'm giving my power away to, I then ask myself a third question. And I keep it really simple. What's one thing I can do now to take back my power? And I do this by activating my inner power of choice. So that's our C word for today, is choosing, making a choice in that moment. Sometimes it's simply choosing to turn my thoughts around in the moment, to remind myself that I'm more powerful than I realize, that life is happening for me, not to me, that I always hold the power to make different choices in this moment, no matter what, to become the master of my own destiny. So, I might choose to shift my mental energy in my thinking. Sometimes the action I take is actually to shift my emotional energy. We've talked about the feelings. So one really easy, super simple way of changing the way I'm feeling is to focus on something that I'm really thankful for.
Yeah.
To really go into that energy of gratitude and appreciation, because when whatever we appreciate, appreciates. The energy expands in our awareness and it lifts us up as a result. So I'm actively choosing to reclaim my power by elevating my energetic state in that moment through the energy of gratitude. So that's a really simple and easy one I can do.
I love that. I do that often. Actually, I was talking to someone at work this week about this topic, actually, about how we lose our power. And I was actually saying to her, you are more amazing. You are so much stronger than what you think you are. And what's one thing that you could be really grateful or that you appreciate about yourself or about your life? And the whole energy just started to turn around. It was actually very powerful and yet so simple as well. And we've got access to that at any given time if we just take that moment to do that. I really love changing the energy to gratitude.
It's such a beautiful example right there of how, we go from that powerless state to feeling more empowered simply by changing what we focus on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes the answer that comes is for me to reclaim my inner power by actually doing something on the physical level, taking a physical action to do something that I love, simply for the joy of it, because when I'm doing something I love, I'm not only prioritizing myself in a way that recognizes I'm equally as important as the other people and things going on in my life, but I'm also activating the energy of my inner joy. And that then uplifts and empowers us to feel better and brighter and lighter and stronger and more enlivened within ourselves. So, I might set an intent around something I know I can achieve, like committing to go for a 10-minute walk or listening to a meditation for a few minutes, or even making myself a nutritious meal is a way of using my inner power of choice to do something for myself, to actually prove to myself that I am powerful. I can make positive choices. I can do things to support myself and move me forward in life. And proving that to ourselves is so significant, because then we start to feel stronger and more empowered within ourselves and better able to take the next little step, and then the next little step after that, and then the next step after that. And suddenly you've made a few steps and you're standing at a different place, and you're no longer caught in that powerlessness. You're actually starting to feel more empowered, more embodied, stronger within yourself, and more able to make different choices going forward.
I love the simplicity of that 3-step process as well, Juliet. As I've said it before, if things are too complicated, then I just won't put them into practice. So I just want to recap those 3 steps for you listening, so that it's really clear on how simple it is. And this is another practice that you can do throughout the day, or get your journal out whenever you need to throughout the day. And just ask yourself the 3 questions. In what sense am I feeling powerless? And then ask, who or what am I giving my power away to? Who or what currently holds power over me? Who or what rules me? And then the final step is, what's one simple thing you can do now to take your power back? Really simple. I love that.
It's really simple, easy to do. Go into your heart, connect inwards, ask those questions, and you might be really surprised at the answers that come.
Yeah. And I think another way to really anchor the inner power of choice is, what I'm going to say is with a mantra, because I love my mantras. So if you really want to anchor in your inner power of choice, here's a mantra you can use to really embody this energy more fully. I give myself permission to listen to my inner guidance. I use my power of choice to move me in ways that align me with my higher soul potential. I allow myself to choose what's truly right for me, to help me live in alignment with the light of my soul and the greater good of all. That's a yummy mantra.
That is a very, very yummy mantra.
Well, we hope that this conversation has helped elevate and fire up your inner power today. If it has, we'd love you to hit the follow button as a way to help us share these tools with more people. And please leave us a comment about what resonated with you from today's episode. We'd really love to hear from you.
Until next time, know that you are way more powerful than you realize, and that real, lasting life transformation always comes from within. Bye for now.